that. Well, I didn't hear from anyone that they weren't coming, so we still have a couple of minutes, I think. Hi, Ellen. Hi, William.
Hello. I
Finishing
thought
up.
that maybe you and Greg and I might want to meet after the meeting to just go kind of as a, to figure out what we're doing with the, with our study group and so forth.
Okay. I don't know how long I can manage.
Happy feast day.
Which one?
Immaculate Conception.
Oh, of course. Okay.
Well, I knew you grew up Catholic, you said, so.
Well, yeah. The irony does not escape me, William.
Mhm.
Let's see. Should I give? I'm going to give Chris a call because he often forgets, and we need a quorum.
Mhm.
People entered the waiting room. Okay, so now I can view them. Okay, here we go. Here's Rick. Here is Emily. Isn't it? All right, but we still need. Hello, Rick. Hello, Emily.
Hello.
All right, I'm going to call Chris. Anyone else? No, I don't see them. Chris, are you having trouble getting in? Okay, cool. No worries. We now have a quorum. Not a problem. Okay, bye-bye. Okay, bye. Chris is on his way, and we have a quorum, right, with Ellen? I mean, with Emily? All right, great. Well, good evening, everybody. I believe that I have already made Ellen the co-host, yes? Let me check and make sure.
Checking. I don't know how I'd see that except for right when you did it. Can you tell that I'm the co-host?
Um,
I think I am.
well,
Alan, if you-
that option's not here anymore, so I'm assuming you are.
Okay.
so
if
there's
you-
a couple ways you can do it. If
Okay.
you click where it says participants down the bottom, Joellen, it'll tell you who is.
Okay, participants, got it. Oh, I see. Okay.
And then it'll show up on the right-hand side and you can see who's host and co-host.
Who's host? It says invite and copy invite on mine.
I'm showing that Ellen is the co-host.
Ellen
Okay,
is the
thank you, thank you,
co-host.
thank you.
I'm
Rick, I'm
co-host
so
already,
glad you're here. You're going to make things so much better for us.
but you are too, Joellen, right?
Yeah.
You're a host because you can let people in. Okay.
Right, and I don't see anybody waiting, so, and Chris isn't there yet. Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. Starting our Diversity and Equity Committee meeting. So I'm calling it to order at 6:32. We now have an agenda. And Rick, first, I want to welcome you as our liaison to the Berry City Council. Thank you so much
Thank
for,
you.
for joining us. I think it's going to be an extremely useful connection to the council, as well as, I hope very much so, useful to you, Rick, in your position as HR.
Yeah, thank you. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Like I mentioned to you today, I'm trying to get the city to fund my certificate training. And a large part of that is diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I'm looking forward to learning more and doing more. So
Well, anything we can do to assist in that. Okay, excuse me, I have 3 people coming in.
I just let him in.
Oh, you did? Oh, thank you, thank you. The value of having a co-host. That's excellent. Thank you. Please do so in the future if here's Chris. All right. If I miss people, because I can. All right. So thanks, Rick. So I wanted to go over explicitly this document that we all received, and I hope that you've all read it. This is a review of the Public Bodies Expectations Memorandum that we were sent. I believe Nicholas was the person who sent it out, but it was formed by the City Council, so they have approved this document. I don't need to go over the preamble, do I? I don't think so. And Ellen is going to try to put this up on the screen for us so that we can take a look at it together. And Ellen, I'm going to start with page 2. Hi, Greg. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Emily. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Okay, let me know when you see it, please.
All right. Yes, there it is.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, and you'd like to be on page
2. It begins, it's bold, and somewhere in the middle of the page is expectations for chairs and public bodies, but I'm going to start at the top of the page. So it's right
Okay.
after expectations for council. So go up a little higher to the top of that page is fine.
Want expectations for council? Is that right?
I'm going to start at the top of the next page, which is the council will strive,
Got it.
because we know about the other parts, how are they going to do that. All right, so what I'm going to do is go through it piece by piece so that we all understand what this directive is. And this is precisely a directive. This is actually welcome, I think, because this is one of the things that not only our committee, but other committees have been missing, I think. So I'm glad for this. All right, so this first paragraph, the council will strive to appoint diverse, expert, and representative membership committed to the change and work of the body by asking questions and communicating expectations during appointment interviews. So one of the things that's key here is this line that says, committed to the charge and work of the body. So to me, that includes the actual actions that we take, not just learning and being and attending meetings, but also, doing the work that we agree that we're going to do. Does anyone else have any ideas about this particular paragraph or a reaction to what, or response to what I said? And please, you're going to have to raise that golden hand when you want to talk, because it's really hard to see these little boxes. Okay.
And Joellen?
Yeah.
If you can bring up your participant, you can minimize your screen a bit, but if you can bring it up, the participant tab, you can see raised hands there.
Oh, I can.
Yeah, it'll
Right.
be next to.
Okay,
yeah.
I see that. Yeah, I have to get it out of the way then.
Your hand right now, you'll be able to see that.
Okay, I don't see anyone's hand up.
Oh,
So
I'm gonna-
I'll carry on. Let me move this out of the way so I
Wait,
can.
I'm so sorry. I'm
Yes.
like Zoom illiterate. So I don't know how to wave a hand, so I'm just gonna butt in here, Joellen.
That's okay. That's perfectly
Apologies.
okay. Go right ahead, Emily.
The communicating expectations during appointment interviews. My question is about this communicating expectation during appointment interviews.
Yes.
I never had an appointment interview.
Right. Right. Well, I'm not sure it would serve to go backwards and
Okay.
have you have your interviews since you've been on our committee for a while. And I apologize for that, but unfortunately, that's on the other person's list. That's on the expectation for council's list. I mean, actually, that's what we're talking about. This is what we can expect from council. So I'm assuming that means, of course, that we can expect that in the future. And apologies. Greg, I believe you did have an interview. Is that true? He might not be able to. Did you
I
unmute?
did. Yes, I
You
did.
did. Okay, great. So Emily, are you interested in having an interview? I mean, we can work something out.
I guess that this memo will serve as my
Okay.
communicating.
Okay, that makes sense. All right.
Okay.
Next paragraph. The council will generally strive to work with the city manager, staff, and appointed members to improve performance challenges as needed, but reserves the right to remove members for any reason as allowed by law, and will take swift action to remove members who choose not to conduct themselves in accordance with expectations of a body set by the statute, state statute, or city ordinance, resolution, policy, and the expectations of this memo. So in terms of the performance challenges, I mean, you know, one of the performance challenges is that we have so few people. So I'm looking for each of the working groups to try to invite people to your groups so that we can, you know, spread the work out and actually become more efficient in terms of our own work. Also, you know, in order to be able to track this idea of our performance, I sent to you a copy of the Diversity and Equity Committee working grid. So when you have your meetings with your working groups, if you could fill this grid out, which has, you know, what task, who is doing the task, when you received the task, when you completed it, and then a notes section for maybe a little detail about what that task is. I think that's going to be important for a few reasons. This is not to, I mean, we're not staff. This is not a performance critique. It would just be to keep track because when committee members leave and work is unfinished, we have to know what that work was. And it's probably the only way to really manage any of the work that we do because we're going to meet once a month. In between, we'll have our work groups, but not everyone goes to every work group. So I thought this would be a way. And then if we could keep this document on the, what's that called, on Google Docs, so that when we want to, we can see what each other is doing. And I think that that might be a good way to manage this. Having said that, I might not be at the next meeting, so I have to say this would stand you in good stead were I to be removed. I made a horrible mistake at the city council meeting, which I'm embarrassed about, so I don't want to talk about it, but it has inspired some to, of course, ask for my head on a platter once again. Apologies for not being able to stay out of trouble, but I'm doing my best. All right, so any questions about that paragraph and about its expectations and the work assignment logs? Okay, I don't see any. Emily, you okay? All right, I don't see.
Yes, thank you, Joellen.
All right. Okay, so the next two sections are pretty, you know, pretty obvious, and of course, we now know that we have a liaison, Rick, to the council, which we applaud. So now I'm going to expectations for chairs and public bodies. So I understood right from the start that as the chair, I would hold a, what's the word? Higher obligation to run. I don't know what Jurley means. I don't know what that means. It's obviously a typo, but I'm not sure what word it is. And civil meetings. So, you know, I think that's happened for the most part, except for maybe one or two exceptions. But you know, I'm human too, and apologies if I can't manage this all the time. I really I don't know what to say. Um, except that, you know, I think we have to expect, because of our makeup, the possibilities for disagreements and maybe even need at some point to have professional mediation, which we talked about before and which I have asked for. It actually is in the grant that we wrote recently and got approved by council. So there is some funds in there so that when we feel that we need that as something to help us move on or help us do our work, hopefully that amount of money will be there for us. Crossing our fingers, getting the grant. It hasn't actually crossed the finish line yet. It hasn't been submitted, but it's on its way, and it did pass the city council. Okay. Okay, so any questions about that section? Please have at it. Okay, I see a green thing up here. You are. Okay. I don't see anyone's hand. So moving down to the next paragraph, chairs, staff, and public body secretaries will, oh wait, I wanted to say something else about that first paragraph. One of the things I think that I have been thinking about the most in terms of not decorum, yes, but in terms of how we work with each other, and that is, you know, I think Ellen sent something out recently that was very telling around this, and that was the little video about how other people may perceive what we don't in terms of when we're saying things. So my thing has been to prevent harm as much as possible, and maybe sometimes I've leant over backwards and made some errors along that way, but that's, I think, one of my responsibilities too. It's not explicit here, except when they talk about decorum. But for me, decorum also means protecting us from each other if necessary. And I may misjudge sometimes, but I do my best. Did you admit her? Okay, perfect, thank you. Hello, Bern, welcome. Okay, so the next paragraph about chair, staff, and public body secretaries will collaborate to ensure agendas and minutes are posted in accordance with law and meeting materials are distributed in a timely manner for productive decision-making. You know, I know this is here because it belongs here in terms of training people to be able to do this and educating them about what's required. But I have to say, when I read that, I was a little annoyed. And the reason being that, you know, we send things in a very timely way to the city, and it's been the city that has fallen down on the job in terms of posting. Understood, many issues involved in that, not the least of which is we lost, tragically, Jody as the assistant to Steve. We lost Steve, not that way, but to retirement. And many other things, I'm sure, maybe tech issues. We know that the city staff, municipal staff is, how shall I say this, overworked. You know, and they have a lot of different tasks and jobs, and this one fell by the wayside for a while. Not to mention that, you know, I really do think after reading over that our website, that the entire website pretty much could use an overhaul at this point, which will happen. And I believe, Rick, tell me if this is not true. I believe we have hired a tech person, yes?
Yes, we've hired a tech person. That tech person was already headed down a path of picking a website company. I had to put the brakes on them and remind them that there's a procurement policy and that we need to look at more than just the one that happened to call them at the time.
Hmm.
And that we needed to reach out to all parties involved in the website and make sure that we're hearing what it is that people need. So, obviously I know probably more about websites than anybody else on city staff because I used to build websites for a living. But, ADA compliance, the ability for people of different languages in the way that the site translates. And so, how does it look on cell phones? All of these things, plus how are we integrating tools that the public is coming to expect if they don't already expect, such as being able to look at property records online, being able to look up birth certificates online, all these things that we have, the capability is there, but our current website doesn't support it. So we're trying to put all those pieces together so we can do an RFP and make sure that we're getting something that meets the needs of the city and the residents. As we're even talking about public calendars so that meetings can be posted on public calendars so people know when they are. Events can be posted such as homecoming or, whatever it is. Obviously, we have to work to put some guidelines in so that we make sure that what is being posted is not derogatory or negative, or, we can't just have it wide open. But there's a lot of work being done on website right now. So that will be something that I will be talking more to you folks about as we progress,
Right.
and things that you believe we need to do on the website and address on the website to make sure those things are built into the product that we're getting.
Understood. Thank you, Rick.
Yep.
Okay, great. So chairs will make the city manager aware of, I'm sorry, I'm going on to the next paragraph, of any issues they are experiencing related to the conduct of staff or appointees. So, I don't know how you feel about this, Rick, but I'd rather talk to you first. Is that possible, or do we have to literally follow this? What do you think?
No, you can absolutely talk to me first.
Yeah.
I'm the staff liaison of the committee. So if there's questions, concerns, obviously, if I feel like there's an issue that the manager needs to be aware of, then, we can
Right.
together talk to the manager. But I think what it was they wanted to make sure that the manager knew if there was an issue going on.
Right.
And the staff that's liaisons to all the committees are tasked with making sure that the manager is kept informed of anything that could be an issue.
I'd rather follow that way, because here's the other thing. This is just about me, but if there are committee members who need to say something and don't feel comfortable talking to me first about it, they should be able to contact you, and then you can do that liaison thing.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense to people? Okay, good. All right, not seeing any hands, I will continue. Chairs should afford public attendees opportunities to speak, and it talks about conventionally 2 minutes. I prefer to have the public speaking section at the end of the meeting so that, not only are we able to do our work in a timely way, but it gives people attending who want to speak an opportunity to actually witness what we're doing during that meeting. And in fact, they may have something that they want to say about what happened during that meeting. And to me, it makes more sense to hold it at the end. I don't know why the other bodies hold it at the beginning, but it makes more sense to me for this kind of a committee that people respond to what we're doing too. And that gives them an opportunity to, because if you just have it at the beginning, then at the end of the meeting, you can't have it again. I mean, I suppose you can, but and then limiting it to 2 minutes, I think, is a good idea, because if it's at the end of the meeting, not that we have very long ones usually, we don't want to be here till midnight. Okay, any questions about this part? Okie doke, seeing
I
none.
think William had a question.
William, yes?
I was just going to say that part of the reason that some bodies have it at the beginning of the meeting is that, like, if you go to school board meetings, when they have something that the things that people want to talk about at the end of the meeting, people are there for the whole meeting and they speak out about other things as well. And so it actually increases the time of the meeting sometimes. I don't necessarily think it will in our case.
I don't think so either, and I actually would like to hear from people during the during the body of the meeting. That I'd like that. All right, moving on. All right, I'm going now to page 3, the top of page 3. So you know, I don't really even, I don't even know how to respond to this sentence. Members will avail themselves to the city provided training and provide. Okay, so I know that trainings have happened that we've been able to attend that are statewide training, and that usually they're free. Although attending the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, I think, cost us something that the city reimbursed us for. So if you see a training that you think is going to be helpful to you in terms of your work with our committee, definitely bring it to my attention, and I will bring it up with, I guess I would bring it up with Rick first. Rick, it happens, is the, if you don't know, the Human Resources Director for the city, and is also very keen on trainings and that sort of thing. So if there's something you think we should all attend, and I also encourage you to, you know, send things like what Ellen sent around, and sometimes the thing that I keep sending around, you know, not just little videos and documents to read, but also if there's, like I said, some kind of training that you think would be useful, especially if it's a Zoom training, or most of them really are at this point. So just let us know. And if there's a fee involved, there's potential, I have to say this with a big capital P, there's potential to have it covered by the city, but you know, that has to be done quite a bit ahead of time so that we can make the proper appeals. Rick, did I describe that accurately?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So now we get to this part. As public servants doing the work of the people of the city of Barre, members will avail themselves to the public by providing a phone number, which, by the way, they took out. You don't have to provide a phone number. That's something that the council decided. An email address. And be appropriately responsive to members of the public. If requested by the member, phone numbers will not be made public. Okay, that's in here. Email addresses will be published and will be public record. Okay, so I look forward to every single opportunity, even the smallest one, to educate the community and ourselves about what we're doing. So actually, Emily and I talked about this a little bit, and Ellen too, that each of us, if we want to, create a separate email address. And maybe we can even make it match, like something like, I don't know, D&E JM for me, or D&E, you know, something that's consistent, or not, but to have an email address that is not our home email address, I think is a really good idea. Now, there are other communities who actually use the city address, and I did ask for that, but the city, word I got was that it was too expensive. I have no clue what that means. Maybe Rick, you do. I don't know, but apparently each city address costs a certain amount of money, and the city did not want to do that for us, for committees. I think they do it for their council members, but not for us. So
That is correct, Joel. And the council gets email addresses. The email addresses right now per license is about $105 a year is what the city pays for that. So that's probably what, whoever told you that, that's probably what they were talking about.
So that means that it would be 105 if for each of us?
Yes.
Doesn't that seem an awfully expensive amount?
It is, but we use Office 365. And Office 365 has the management console, plus it affords you all the Office products like Word, Excel, all of those are available in the cloud as well as part of it. So that's why it's so expensive.
Okay. Well, then, what do other folks think about this email thing? Because I know, Emily, you had some issues. I don't mean to say it like that. It's a
No,
problem.
that's okay. I'm a little uncomfortable with a public email address for myself personally, because I feel like I don't know what the appropriate responsive part of being available to members of the public. I've never been in a position where my personal information is on a city website. So I'm not sure. I don't have any training or any resources to like understand what this appropriately responsive part of the volunteer committee entails.
Right. Well, I have to say that whenever we get those emails where everyone is copied on them or everyone gets the email, I always respond to the public, always. And I'd be happy to continue to do so. I look at it as an opportunity to educate and also to make the kind of connection that needs to be made with community. Even though some of the people that I get emails from actually don't live in Vermont, but that's okay. We can all use a little back and forth. So I'm happy to respond to those. I would recommend that you don't respond to them. Send them to me if they're not sent to me, and I will do so, unless that becomes a problem of another kind. I don't know. So to me, that makes more sense because I hear you, Emily. And sometimes it isn't easy to read some of the comments that are made, and like Ellen's video that she sent around, people don't realize how it's affecting others. They don't realize that something that looks harmless to them could feel differently to somebody else. Yeah. So, yeah.
For anybody, the video was impact versus intent.
Thank
And I'm
you.
happy to share it with everyone else. And there are two hands up, Joellen. There's
Okay.
William
William first and then Byrne. William.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that as a member of the committee, I don't necessarily feel it's incumbent on me to speak for the committee. I think that generally that would be an appropriate thing for the chair to do. So now if someone, so I don't think that members of the public emailing me directly that it's necessarily something that I should generally be responding to.
I agree, William. Byrne.
Yeah.
Thank you, William.
Hi, thanks. I'm really appreciating this discussion. It's not one I thought to have, but like Emily, I felt really uncomfortable about having all my personal contact information out there. It's pretty available. I post on Front Porch Forum, but to have it be on the city website, I really like that you're having this discussion. And Emily, thank you for bringing it up. It gives me something to think about.
Thanks, Byrne. Rick?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on what William said. I know some of our other committees, what they're doing is if for some reason somebody emails Emily, just responds back and said, I will bring this to the committee and we will discuss and the chair will give you a response. That way, like William is saying, it doesn't come from an individual, it comes from you. And I think the next paragraph basically kind of speaks to that intent,
Right.
because you're expected to act as a body.
Yeah.
And so by just responding and saying, hey, we got this, I'll bring it to the next meeting and we'll discuss it and the chair will respond. That kind of lines up with what William is talking about. And I know some of the other committees do that as well.
Right,
That way you're speaking with one voice.
good, yep. And if it rises to the level of needing a decision by the committee, we can just simply put it on the agenda. Like, I don't know what could, but if it does. Okay, next paragraph.
Can I just add, would
Yeah.
I might be comfortable saying, thank you for your communication. I'm forwarding on this on to the chair.
Right, that works for me too, yeah, that's fine. And be assured that if it's something that I determine needs to come to the, committee, I will definitely bring it, like if there's something that needs a decision from us. Okay, next is members are expected to act as a body, which demands that members accept the decision of a public body. There is no exception, that all decisions will be made by consensus, and members who cannot accept the work and decisions of their public body may wish to reconsider their service. I found this a little harsh, the way it was worded, but I understand what they're saying, and I agree for the most part. Basically, we're not the Supreme Court. There's no dissenting opinion. We have our discussions during our meetings, and we have our arguments, whatever they may be, and then once the body makes the decision, that's it. And to me, I'd like to hear from others if you disagree, but to me that also, it doesn't say explicitly here, but to me that also means implicit. So if you show up at a meeting and everyone knows you're on the diversity committee and you don't speak during the time that the committee is presenting, but you come in late, at the public speaking time and say something, to me that violates this agreement. So I want to put that out there as to make us aware that we have a different responsibility when these things come up. Does that make sense to folks? Not seeing any shaking heads. Ellen, are you speaking? Because you're.
No, I wasn't speaking.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. You're in that little box. I can't see it, so.
I'm just wrestling with my screen here, but I did have a process question for Rick.
Okay.
Is this a done deal, or are they looking for any feedback on this memo?
I believe this is a done deal, but that doesn't mean that it can't be changed. So if the
Okay.
committee feels like something in there should be discussed, that's where I can bring that back to the manager and ask for that to be discussed.
Right. I just, if I were writing this, I would reword this sentence because
I would reword a lot of it.
yeah, because you can certainly disagree with a decision in your heart and let the committee know that at the time. That's really important, and we need to know why people are disagreeing. But once you're in public, you do not diss the decision. You don't speak out against it. You don't write a letter to the editor. All of that, right? So
Right.
I think this doesn't quite say it that way. So if they do change it, I would hope that would be a little bit clearer. There's nothing wrong with disagreement.
Well, excuse me, we are the Diversity and Equity Committee, so perhaps we can recommend the change. So how about, Rick, do you want to, you're well aware of this kind of stuff too. So would you work with someone on rewording that particular paragraph?
Sure.
And is someone on committee willing to do that with Rick?
Yeah. If Rick doesn't have any time, I think maybe we could just leave it to ourselves to communicate maybe with Rick by an email. I know Rick is working at his limit at all times. And so I don't want to hand this stuff off to you, Rick. I just wanted to ask if that's part of the process, and maybe in our notes, we can, if anything else comes up, we can sort of flag it.
So the way I look at everything that's written down, every policy that I write, every program that we have, is it's subject to change.
Okay.
Even charter is subject to change. Yeah,
That's
it takes
true.
a lot more, but
Yep.
it's subject to change.
Yep, you're right.
So it's always good, especially in a case like this, to go back and look at it, reword it to how we think it would work. And then I can bring that forward to the manager and he can bring it forward to the council for discussion. You know, because other committees may not be thinking of it that way because they may not have had the same experiences. They may not have the same thought process.
True.
So it's always good to question things and try to look at them as a bigger entity than just somebody who wrote this on a Saturday night somewhere.
So let me make a recommendation then that after going over this and understanding what this says with each other, we we take a little time and look at it each ourselves and communicate via email with each other about potential changes or some concerns that we may have with wording. Is that agreeable to folks? Great. Thanks, Rick and Ellen. Okay, so the next paragraph is pretty clear as well. Committee members are expected to work in good faith to further the charges and duties of their public body and complete the work they volunteered to do. Members are appointed to serve the people of the city of Barre as set forth in a public body's charges and duties. It is not appropriate for members to advance self-interest or engineer conflict. So again, this is pretty straightforward. I believe that the working good faith piece could be well satisfied by the task list that I'm asking folks to work with. Yeah, how do folks feel about that one, that paragraph? We're good. Okay. Emily, you good? All right. So members are encouraged to make the chair aware of any unproductive or inappropriate conduct that they are experiencing. So like as we said before and with the other paragraph, if there's someone that doesn't feel comfortable coming to me, please go to Rick. I mean, Rick's a professional HR person. He's going to be fine with whatever you come to him with. And I will be too, but if you feel uncomfortable coming to me, I definitely want you to have an alternative so that nothing festers and things aren't, you know, they don't go wacky. I mean, they can go wacky anyway, but not for that reason. I don't know about advancing self-interest. I don't know. I don't know what that means, sort of. Does anyone else have a clue? I'm supposing they mean economically. Rick, what do you think?
I'm not real sure, but
Okay.
I know with some committees or some councils, some select boards, people run for a position or they get appointed to a committee because they have one thing that they want to accomplish.
Ah,
They're not looking at it as a group. They're looking at it as, this is what I want to change about Barre City. And that's the only thing I care about. I don't care about all the other stuff. And I think that's what they're looking at there.
okay.
Is it's not about the individual. Again, I think it goes back to them saying it's more about the body as a whole and how that body works to move things forward.
Right. Okay. Okay, the next paragraph. I don't see any hands. All right, next paragraph. Members are expected to attend meetings regularly and seats will be considered vacant if an appointee does not attend more than 4 consecutive regular meetings. I have to say, one of the things I want to change that to, since we only meet once a month and might even go to once every 2 months, is 2 meetings, not 4. 4 means you're missing, you know, a quarter of the year. Ellen, did you have your hand up? Sorry. Okay. So that's something that when we look at this more carefully, each of us, and request to review some of it, that's what I would recommend. That I think 4 consecutive regular meetings is too much. Okay, and does not reply to an inquiry from the chair. People, you have to respond to me when I ask you to. I'm going to keep track of that because I mean, I don't need, mostly I need to know if you're not going to attend a meeting for sure, because it's pretty, well, we can't run a meeting if we don't have quorum. So please, at least if you're not going to come to a meeting, do communicate with me. And if I communicate with you and ask specifically for a response, I would really appreciate one. most of the times I get responses fine. Oh, here's the other thing. I don't know why this happens to me, but sometimes I'm too fast with my slow computer and the email actually doesn't get sent. So I hope you're not offended if I'm saying to you, hey, how come you didn't respond and you never got the email? So I'll make sure I ask first before I do that. Okay,
I think that actually could use a wording change,
no kidding.
because it says if an appointee does not attend more than 4 consecutive regular meetings, it should say fails to attend, because what it's saying here is if you don't make at least 4 in a row, then we can kick you off, rather than if you miss 4 in a row.
Right, right. I think that whole thing could do reworded, right? All right. I'm making a note.
What's interesting about that is,
Yeah.
to me, that's very black and white. And it's very cut and dry. What if somebody has a medical necessity and they can't make the meetings? What if, they miss 3 and their internet's down, so they can't make the 4th? I mean, to me, it should have something that says, without communicating with the chair, the
Right.
reasons for absentee or
Right.
absence.
Mhm.
Right.
It's too just 4 and you're gone. And it's just, to me, it's just too sharp.
It really, and it boils everything down to just attending meetings also. It's like,
Right.
oh, gee, all you have to do is come. All you have to do is show up. Yeah, I see that too. Okay, so we're on to seeing no hands. We're on to public.
Ellen, I
Bern
think
has her
Bern
hand
has
up.
her hand up.
I'm sorry, oh, I see it. Sorry, Bern.
No, that's all right. I just wanted to comment that grammatically, it's correct. It says and does not reply to an inquiry. So it means that the two things have to happen together. And it would be nice to have better language, but technically the language is correct.
Well, yes, but obviously, when there's that much disagreement about what it means, we should
Exactly.
probably look into what it says.
It's a good idea.
Yeah,
But technically it's correct.
yeah, okay. All right. Expectations for public bodies. Public bodies may only change their names. I think this was put in there for us, but anyone, and we already know this. We can't change our own name, that it's something that has to be approved by City Council. And even though in the report that we wrote, and in our vote, we did vote to ask council to change our name, that probably won't happen until, and unless, I guess, we present that 2-year report to council, which should happen within the next, I'm saying, few meetings of the city council, because we haven't done that yet.
We actually did follow that process. We voted
Right,
to ask city council to
Correct.
change the name, but because everything got crazy with the suspension and everything, I think they assumed it was a done deal, but it absolutely was not.
no, I agree with you. Okay, expectations of staff. Oh, boy. So the city manager's office will administer a professional vacancy notice, application system, and track the status and support consistent administration of all municipal body appointments by maintaining a spreadsheet, listing all appointees by body, seat, term, and blah, blah, blah. So basically keep track of who's on and who's off, I guess. Hopefully they do. Well, it's not Nicholas's fault, but hopefully a better job is done. Let's put it that way.
So, when so every year the appointments come up in July. And it was an absolute nightmare, as you guys are aware.
Yeah.
At that time, we created a tracking spreadsheet that every committee has a tab in, and in there, there's if Bern sends in her name and phone number, one of the things we did on the application is have a checkbox that says, please don't display my phone number. But it's still maintained in that spreadsheet in case the city manager needs to reach out.
Mhm.
In there, that all gets cumulatively pulled to the master sheet, and in the master sheet, you can sort it by what committees have members that are expiring, so that we'll know quickly who we need to reach out to, see if they want to stay on, it was just kind of all over the place before we created
Right.
that spreadsheet. So it should be better tracking going forward. And we're still trying to make changes to the website to make the forms better. There's numerous forms that are on our website that we don't like. We're trying to find a solution for more user, better staff functionality so that we can make the forms easier to use. So those are all in play right now.
Thanks, Rick. And one of the things I'm concerned about, and maybe it's really on the first page too, where it talks about the council's responsibility to the committees. We have real specific needs, and I don't think that comes into consideration at all in terms of we're never asked. There's no opportunity, at least that I see in this document, that allows us to weigh in on who is going to be on the committee. Not that we have, you know, the sole say of it, but that at least well, for example, it's not true. We have a couple of grant writers coincidentally right now on the committee, but what if that's something we really needed and we didn't have it? And there's 4 people that apply, there's 1 seat, and one of them can write grants, but they don't get on the committee because how does the council know what we need, you know? So I'm concerned that there's no opportunity in this document at all to be able to weigh in some way with who we're looking for as committee members, essentially. You know, we could use a writer, we could use a researcher, we could use whatever, you know, I'm making all this up. But, you know, there could be some real specific needs as we carry on. Like right now, we're focused on education projects. Maybe we could use someone who, you know, is a professional educator or someone who is a training expert. I don't know, whatever. I'm concerned about that there's no opportunity. And I was never even told when someone was going to be interviewed to be on the committee, to be even attend the meeting, to see what that person says and to learn right up front how I could connect with them or, you know, whatever. So I think, I don't know how you feel about this, Rick, but I really, or the other members, sorry, everyone, but I really think that we should have some kind of input into who we need and who we'd like to see on the committee.
So I just made notes because I would agree with you. I
Mm.
mean, who knows better what the committee needs or who knows better? I mean, why is the chair not informed when there's an applicant for a committee, you know? And so to me, it seems like if there's an applicant for the committee, the chair should be informed, especially in a case like you gave where you have 4 members and one of them has grant writing experience and you're looking at trying to get more grants. Why would the committee not be asked for advice? You know, why would they not look to the committee to say, please advise us who you think would be the best fit? I know traditionally it's been, hey, we get somebody in and they need somebody on that committee. But I think it's definitely something that I want to bring back and see if we can get that taken into consideration and maybe modify this to say, you know, committee chairs or committees shall be included in the discussion about any new appointees applications or something to that effect.
Great.
I think that's great advice.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Thanks, Rick.
And what is the cap on the number of our committee?
Well, currently it's 7 people and 2 youth.
Okay.
So,
I mean, if they're really going to consolidate committees, they might consider allowing them to be a tad bigger so people can do the work.
well, from what I understand, the consolidation process is going to be a process, and hopefully we'll have an opportunity to talk about that because I can't imagine adding work to a group of 6 people who can't even get the work done that we want to do. So yeah. Okay. No criticism, people. That wasn't a criticism of anyone. That's just our conditions, the conditions we're operating under. Where was I? Okay, this is very interesting, this part. The city will make training opportunities available to chairs and members of public bodies at least twice a year. I would love to see once. I'm not sure exactly what kind of training this means. I'm assuming that, for example, the Vermont Leagues of Cities and Town training that we all went to, whoa, what was a year or two ago, would qualify. But likewise, this is great that it's written here, because then if you and I or any one of us find a training that we would like to participate in, we can point to this and say, well, see, now I know, Rick, that this is pie in the sky maybe, but at least it's down there in writing.
I think the intent is that, VLCT offers training or passive or property and casualty. They
Right.
offer training all the time.
Right.
And a lot of times nobody goes from Berry City other than maybe a staff member goes. And so I think the thought behind this statement was, look, there's opportunities out there. Me as a staff person should be reaching out saying, hey, diversity and equity, here's an opportunity if anybody's interested in going to this training.
Right.
And I think part of the problem we've had is as far as staff people go, there hasn't been a well-documented list of who's assigned. I mean, Steve was on 2 or 3. Jeff
Right.
Bergeron was on 4.
Right.
You need it to be more diverse than that. And you need somebody that pays attention. So, if I was on diversity and equity committee as the staff person, but I'm also on the cemetery committee and I'm on the dog park committee, for instance, I'm probably going to be a lot less apt to be focusing on what trainings are coming up by VLCT that would pertain to my committees. But I know if there's something that deals with diversity, equity, inclusion, anything like that, and I'm the staff person for the committee, I'm going to bring it back and say, hey, this is coming up. And what I would probably do is just send it to the committee as a whole and say, this is an opportunity. If anybody's interested, please let me know and we'll sign you up.
Actually,
think
that has been happening, and you were one of the people that sends it to us. Yes.
I think, but that's the intent, is to try to get the staff to basically get the committees more inclusive as far as, hey, there's trainings available. Can anybody go?
Right. Cool. Thanks. Okay. So,
Hey,
the staff-
Joellen,
yes.
this is Bern.
Hi, Bern.
Do you mind me with these little comments or questions?
Oh, please. Oh, you're well invited. It's just that I'm not paying attention. My fault.
Yep. Well, that's why I spoke up.
Good. Thank you.
Rick, what you were just saying about about trainings, what seems to happen is I see them because I sign up for certain things, or Erica sees them, or somebody on the committee will say, oh, this event is happening, like the White Cane Day. Now, I would consider that a training. You go, it's a public awareness thing, but I learned so much in that hour and a half participating in that. And what I talked about it afterwards, but I try to send that out and get as many people to come and to publicize things like that. So some trainings aren't things that cost money. They're things that are happening in our community or close by or online. And maybe we can work that. If I see something I think maybe diversity and equity would like, I'll send that out to Joellen, because I've learned so much from them. And I've learned from a couple of other groups and a disability rights groups, the Vermont Center for Independent Living. And these are places that I have made staff aware of, like when we get a brochure that comes out and is so not readable by anybody with any kind of a vision issue, try to be polite and do a little feedback, like there are no capital I's in here, and the colors are all bad and the font is bad. I hope that when you're doing the website, that you also include people who are sending out this kind of information and making sure that it's stuff that people can actually read or have readers and listen to. So that's one reason I'm listening to this committee tonight. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Okay, then the staff will ensure that all new members are provided with orientation training and resources within a reasonable period of time after joining a public body. Now, mind you, the last time 2 folks joined, we had a little hiatus there, so I was not able to do that. But here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that since we've been around for a while, we know some of the things that I can provide to people would be our committee reports. Certainly they can look on the website, but I think it's more friendly if there's some kind of packet that we devise that we are able to give new members. So I'm going to work on that and send it out to everybody, and you can edit it, Will. You can, if there's something else that you can think of adding to it, that would be great. Right now, I believe we only have 1 opening. Isn't that true? We're 6, so we have 1 opening. And I know that I think there are some people that have applied, but I can't really say. Maybe, Rick, you can find that out from Nicholas when you put your notes together for this meeting. I'm assuming that's what you're going to do is talk to Nicholas about our meeting, yes?
Yes,
Okay.
I am. I know right now, I don't know particularly who or what committee, but I know there are 4 or 5 applications that
Mhm.
Nicholas has, that he's reached out to the people and told them that he's undergoing this committee consolidation or committee improvement thing that he's working on. And so he's holding those applications until that gets worked out, and then he'll be reaching out to those folks. And I'll find out if we have any for D&E, and I will definitely let you know.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, seeing no hands. City staff tasked with supporting a public body will receive training on best practices for staffing. That's really not up to us, right? That's the city. And
Yeah.
provide responsive support and information, including timely materials and complete packets necessary to make good decisions for the people of Barre. Okay, well, that does it. That's the whole shebang. And like I said, we could each work on. Let me give us a deadline for that. How about we get it completed by our next monthly meeting, going through this document and making any suggestions, and then send it to me, and I'll compile it, put it together, and send it to Rick so that Rick is only receiving 1 document instead of 6. Does that make it a little more efficient for folks and helpful for Rick and myself? Okay, any questions? Can we move on? All righty, let me get back to my agenda here. Okay, so thanks, everybody. That was really very, very helpful. Working group reports. So hopefully we have met in our working groups and have something to report. So I'm going to ask, Ellen, do you want to talk about what we came up with or where we're at?
I'm a little fuzzy at the moment. Do you have it in
I can
mind?
do it. Yeah, no problem. I was just, so Ellen and I met and we talked about the section of the report that we were asking the council for a monthly opportunity to do a presentation to them. A short one, 15, well, I guess short. 15 might not be short to the council, but it is to us. Anyway, however many minutes they give us. And we can't really do that until we actually bring that to their attention. So that's going to happen. First, we have to go to City Council with our report, present the report, and then get permission to do that. And then Ellen and I were talking about, we're going back and forth about if we did one every month, that would be 12 a year. So we're trying to figure out a way to kind of link the presentations together so that over a year, there's some kind of cohesive information that gets passed on to council in a more kind of organized fashion. So we talked about starting out with the history of diversity and inclusion and bias in the city, and then moving from there into more contemporary issues. So that's us. And so really we can't, although we're beginning to think about and to plan what kind of education program we'll do, our intention is to kind of make a list of the 12 presentations, bring it to the committee, have you folks look it over, and then once we get permission, or once we get permission from council, agreement from them, we'll start our monthly presentations. And it can include things that we're doing. It can include what other working groups are doing, but definitely some regular communication directly with council, I think, would really help us a lot and help them and help the city. Okay, so Emily or Chris, do you want to talk about where you guys are at with your working group? Is Chris still here? By the way, yeah, there he is. There's his dogs. So do I have to unmute you? Nope.
No, Emily took much better notes than I did during our meeting. If she wants to participate, but we are in the process of looking into working with the library and with the school to have an educational reading group, and we've already chosen the book. It's John Lewis's series, and I'm exploring to see if we can get that more cheaply than the standard price, which is $30 for the whole set per one. So, and we're hoping to have a lot of kids participate in this reading group. So I know that we're going to be coordinating, I believe, with the library, and Joellen, you were going to coordinate with someone on the curriculum, someone dealing with curriculum at the high school, if I'm not mistaken. And we hope to have this, I guess we're thinking in the summertime, have this reading group for young people. So that's the very basics of it. I didn't take many notes during our meet. We did have a meeting about this last week. So
Emily, did you want to add to
Emily, I
that?
didn't.
Yeah, that's a great summary, Chris, of our meeting. I just want to add that we identified a grant that we're going to write an application for on the Vermont Council of Humanities program, and we're in the process of looking for a financial agent to help us administer that grant as well. And we've approached the library as a possibility.
I also approached the superintendency for that possibility. Out of the summer, they do a summer youth program every year, and they do have some funding, so perhaps they can help us fund books for the youth, which would be great. Okay. I would just add that in case folks didn't remember, it's not just a reading group. There will be a public presentation or a public, we're not sure how it's going to shake off, but some kind of public gathering to do not really a book discussion group, because there might be too many people, but some sort of presentation that relates to the book. And Susanna Davis from the state has agreed to facilitate that in whatever way. William.
Yeah, I have been, I borrowed the 3 of the books from the library, the John Lewis books, and I find that they're very informative, and I think that they would be a good addition. If we're looking for something to be done diversity and equity related, that would not require, with the high school, that would not require necessarily putting out major funds. There are two books that they have had on their summer reading program in recent years. One is Mouse,
Mhm.
and the other one is George Takei's book. Both of which are very enlightening books.
And I believe they're both graphic novels as well, correct?
Yes, they are.
That's an opportunity for youth and adults to read something together that, is, yeah, anyway. The program also includes adults,
Mhm.
and that's why the connection to the library, so that it would be
Right.
adults and youth. All right, anything else, Emily or Chris? That's it, I think, yeah, okay.
Nothing I can think of. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you both. So the Education Working Group for the VLCT grant, that's the grant that was just approved by City Council to be submitted to the Vermont Council on the Vermont Community Fund. So Greg and William have yet to meet. Have you spoken to each other, or do you have anything to report?
We have spoken to each other. I was going to suggest that we just meet briefly at the end of this meeting and maybe set up a time and so forth.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so it looks like we're at setting our next meeting date, and when I look at the calendar, it would be January. Oh, I gotta put my glasses on.
We're,
January 13th.
excuse me, John, we're keeping Thursday night, right?
Correct. The second Thursday would be January 13th at 6:30. Do we have an issue with that? A problem with that, anyone?
12th, no?
Second Thursday? Okay.
Isn't it the
Just making
12th,
sure.
Ellen?
Yeah, what?
Is it 12th?
I don't know. Let me
That's
see.
a Friday.
Or
I think it's
12th?
the
Oh,
12th.
you know what? I'm sorry. My calendar hasn't switched over yet to, that's last January, I think.
January 12th.
So say again? January 12th? All right.
It is the 12th.
At 6:30. Perfect. All right, so we're at the point, we've set our next meeting date. We're at visitors and public comment. A 2-minute limit for anyone. Does anyone wish to speak? Please raise that little golden hand if you can, although I think I can see to the right. Okay, Mr. Howard. Where are you?
Yes, so this is for the chair. I was going through the minutes for the city council on Tuesday, and I was going through where you had spoke, and I had a question regarding something where you had mentioned you spoke with someone at the central office for the schools regarding that the school had a diversity director already in the budget.
Correct.
And I was wondering if you can elaborate on that and just and maybe tell us who you spoke to down there, because I'm having a heck of a time trying to find it in the current budget.
Well, it's not in this year's budget. I wasn't referring to this year. In previous years, this past year, they did have $150,000 in their budget for a diversity and equity consultant. And the person I spoke with at the time was Joe Kill, because he was in charge. Now that work has been shifted over to the newly appointed curriculum director. I've forgotten her name, I'm sorry. So that has not been pursued beyond just knowing that that was in the budget. And there was a discussion at that time about sharing, because it was the end of that budgetary year. They were not able to hire anybody, and they were planning to put it in that following year's budget, would be this year's budget. So yeah, so that's as far as it went. And I put it, and also during the report from, I forget which housing committee, because there's 3 of them, but one of the housing committees just published a report themselves about what the needs are for housing. And some of the things, the tasks that they were looking for in their application or in their report are the same kind of tasks that we might look for from our committee, things like community needs assessment, that type of thing. So
He looks familiar. I don't know the name though.
So that's about the extent of it. It hasn't gone any further, obviously, because now we're all in new budget territory and there's apparently no money for anybody. So don't worry about it, Josh. It's not going to happen this year or next year. Is that okay? Did that answer your question, Josh?
Yes, it did. And may I ask just one more question, real quick?
You can ask as many as you wish.
Okay, I've been hearing some rumors on the street. There was a hot mic incident the other night.
Oh.
When Lozon was
I don't want to
asking-
talk about that. That's so embarrassing. I'm very embarrassed by it, and I apologize. And I did apologize.
Okay, I was just seeing if you apologized, and you did. So thank you very
Yes,
much.
I did. I apologize to you too, because that was terrible. But, you know, you have to get up and carry on, embarrassment and all. So I'm good with that. I'm too old to worry about it anyway. Much beyond that. Anything else from anybody? Thank you so much, visitors, for attending. I hope that you enjoyed yourselves. Might have been a little bit boring because we had to go through that document, but it's always good to find out what folks are doing. Okay, so having said that, and Rick, yes, please.
Just real quick, Ellen, if you get a chance, could you send me the impact versus intent that you were talking about? I'd like to read that. Also, Joellen, I sent you an email and it's just labeled Rick's contact information.
Mhm.
If you want to forward that on to the other committee members so that they know how to reach me if they need to.
You know, come to think of it, I should do that for everyone because we have 2 new members and I don't think I put out a new list to folks of how to get in touch with each other. So I'll do that too.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Do we need to make a motion to adjourn?
You know, I think we do, but we don't have to vote on it. Is that how it goes? Okay, somebody make a motion.
I motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Does it, so it doesn't
For a
need to be
second.
second? Okay, and Ellen seconds. Okay, we got it. All right, thanks, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
I'm sticking here with Greg and William, correct?
Yeah.
You have to make sure that you're the host so that when I leave, it doesn't end the meeting.
Okay,
Are you the host?
She is.
I am. Okay. And I'm not going to record it necessarily because it's not necessary.
We can wait till other folks leave. I might be able to
Well,
project